So there's estimated that 5,000 to 10,000 teenagers that kill themselves each year. At least 10 times that many attempt to do so. My name is Stephen Cotios, and I did my presentation on teens committing suicide. I ask myself questions sometimes of why teenagers kill themselves, and I knew that every one of us go through something, but I never understood why a teenager would kill themselves. Not until I spoke one day to a friend of mine. My friend of mine, he was a type of teenager that he liked to go out. His parents, wealthy family. He had everything a teenager could possibly want until he threw himself a graduation party and he told me that he wanted to kill himself. And I didn't understand why he wanted to kill himself. And he was drunk and he was really emotional. And he told me that he would have loved to have the love of his family instead of all the money, since his parents were always doing business out of town, so he was always home alone. And he said he would have loved to have that love and attention from a parent instead of just having, all the money he has. Teen suicide is very common in society, and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped being neglected. First, I'm going to explain what can drive a teen to commit suicide. Let's see how we can prevent it from committing suicide. Teens assume that alcohol and drugs are good sources for depression. However, according to an article, Teen Suicide, drugs and alcohol is the #1 thing to lead a teen to commit suicide. Alcohol and drugs make an individual depressed, which causes them to commit suicide. And caffeine has been known to cause depression and mood swings in some individuals. In the article by Nika Dora called A Model of Sexual Abuse's Effects on Suicidal Behaviors and Delinquency, the role of emotions as mediating factors explains the effects of sexual abuse on outwardly direct from delinquency for both genders were stronger through anger than through depression. Child abuse is another symptom. Sexual abuse shows that common symptoms of those of depression, aggression, and self-destructive behaviors. The consequences are sexual abuse and that have been documented in the literature. The pathways by which sexual abuse translates into negative outcomes of behavior among young people. In an article by Donald Drake Donis called Suicide Risks, it identifies the correlations of suicide in youths include depression, academic failure, loss of friends, and social isolation. This review focuses on potential link between chronic illness and an increased suicide risk. Researchers suggest that chronic illnesses is a risk factor for depression and that may induce suicide and attempts. This risk needs to be considered against the research data noting an increase in suicide attempts and in each decade of life for youth into adulthood. My conclusion. So in conclusion, teenage suicide is very common in society that needs to stop being neglected. If anybody in the audience has a friend, it's supposed to go up all the way on top. So if someone in the audience has a friend or knows someone that is depressed, help them and give them attention they need to go on with life. Thank you.